So Kamala Harris gave an interview to Bill Whitaker from 60 Minutes, and I know she's regretting it. And as usual, nothing but lies and word salad, so let's get into it. His first question was about Israel. He asked, what can the U.S. do to stop this from spinning out into an all-out war? Her answer,
well, let's start with October 7. 1,200 people were massacred. 250 hostages were taken, including Americans. Women were brutally raped. And as I said then, I maintain Israel has a right to defend itself. We would.
You notice how, well, let's start with this, or, well, let's be clear, is always their opening to deflect a difficult question. And as you can see, it was just the same bullshit word salad about Israel has the right to defend itself. Next. Whitaker goes on to highlight how the Biden-Harris administration has failed in negotiations with Netanyahu over and over and over again. Cue the word salad.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
Whitaker then goes on to point out how grocery prices are 25% higher and asks that if the American public blamed her and Biden, would they be wrong? Of course, she doesn't answer the question, and then she goes on to talk about how they have a historic low unemployment rate. No, you do not. The current unemployment rate is 4.1%. So let's just compare to Trump's. In February of 20, right before the pandemic, he had unemployment to 3.5%, which is tied for fifth lowest of all time with Nixon's administration at 69. The lowest, however, was 2.5% in 1951 and 1953 under both Eisenhower and Truman. So I'm at a loss about where she's getting a historic low. I mean, I guess if not even cracking the top 5 lowest unemployment rate of all time is historic, then sure. She then goes on to say that the economy is thriving. No. Now, while the inflation rate has come down from its 22 peaks, it still remains higher than its pre-pandemic levels. And the Federal Reserve continues to try and manage this by adjusting interest rates. Just remember, persistent inflation erodes purchasing power, making it harder for the consumers to keep up. And if you think that these interest rates don't affect you, you are wrong. This makes borrowing for cars, mortgages, etc. a lot harder. So this interest rate coupled with the federal debt are creating long-term fiscal concerns. She then goes on to say that prices are too high after she just said that the economy is thriving. That's like saying, I'm not broke, I just can't afford things. Whitaker then goes on to tell her that experts say her economic plan would add $3 trillion to the federal deficit and asks how she would pay for that. Her answer? Middle class? Small businesses? Oh God, please forget your question. I don't want to have to go off script.
My plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
Luckily, he did remember his question, and he persisted that she answered, how will you pay for this? And I just want to point out really quick that I absolutely love this moment, and I have the utmost respect for Whitaker for pushing back, and I know it wasn't easy because he's going to get a lot of flack for it, but that was phenomenal because in this day and age, it seems that journalistic integrity is just gone. Props to Whitaker. She then starts to malfunction, like she does anytime that she's pressed. But you know what? She clung to that script desperately, and by God, she managed to get something out.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations.
This is not even remotely accurate, and the left has been pushing this lie for the longest time, trying to vilify the top 1%. The average annual income for a firefighter in the United States is $59,606 a year. Their federal tax rate, about 9.02%. And the average annual income for a high school teacher is about $65,000, and their federal tax rate is about 12%. And the average annual income for a nurse is about $84,875 a year. And again, they pay around 12 to 14%. Now let's look at the top 1%, those greedy bastards. Well, according to the IRS, the average tax rate for the top 1% is 25.9%. In fact, last year alone, the top 1%, those earning an adjusted gross income of $548,336 and above, contributed about 42.3% of all federal individual income tax. This group paid $723 billion in income taxes, which is more than the bottom 90% combined. But let's take it a step further though. In 2021, the federal income revenue was nearly $2.2 trillion, and the top 1% paid $1 trillion of that $2.2 trillion. That is 45.8%. What the fuck else do you want from them? And listen, I'm not shilling for rich people, okay? I'm broke. And when I say I'm broke, I mean I'm broke. I'm so broke I can't afford to pay attention. I'm so broke if somebody robbed me, the most they're going to get is an expired Blockbuster gift card. But I don't think it's fair how we continually vilify the top 1%. It's not right. Whitaker presses her again and says, "We are dealing with the real world. How will you get this through Congress?" Her answer?
Here.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, so just one more time, just so that way I'm clear on this. He asks, how will you get this through Congress? Her answer? If you talk quietly with Congress, they know what we're talking about.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I feel like at some point Ashton Kutcher's going to pop out and let the entire country know that we've been punked. This isn't serious. She's not really running for president, right? Right? And yes, I know that was a bit of a dated reference, so for all of you kids out there that don't know what I'm talking about, Ashton Kutcher used to be a popular celebrity, and he had a reality TV show called Punked. Go look it up. I'm showing my age. Whitaker then highlights all of her flip-flops, and her retort is just the same bullshit, just worded slightly different. She even learned a new word this time. Last time it was holistic. This time, consensus. I'm sure her campaign is so proud of her ever-evolving vocabulary. But I tell you what though, Kamala, I've got a word for you free of charge, of course. Extemporaneous. Allow me to use it in a sentence. You suck at extemporaneous speeches and interviews. You're welcome. Whitaker then asks why she's cracking down on the border now when she hasn't been the last few years. Her answer? Just Donald Trump or some shit. She then goes on to talk about how Donald Trump killed the border bill, yada, yada, yada. Look, I've already debunked this so many times before, it's not even funny. I literally can't, no, you're not hearing me. I physically cannot debunk this one more time without having a stroke, okay? So just go watch my other videos. Whitaker then follows up and asks, was it a mistake to loosen Trump's policies on the border? Her answer? There wasn't one. He asks again, and again, she did not answer She did not answer. He then talks to Walz for a few minutes and asks about his knucklehead comments. And you will never guess what Walz had to say. Quote, bullshit, 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 Donald Trump bad. End quote. And the rest of this interview was just lies and bullshit that I've already debunked a million times over before, from abortion bans to Haitian migrants, yada, 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 yada. Bottom line is, these two are unfit to be anywhere near the White House, and I wouldn't even hire them for janitorial work. They are easily the most bumbling, moronic, unlikable ticket in U.S. history, and at this point I would take Clinton Kane over them. Like, seriously, I'm not even kidding. This is just insane. Side note, my prayers and thoughts go out to everybody affected by these hurricanes. May Yahweh bless.